The solution the Chicago Bears have been looking for, it might be coming from an unexpected place. And with what we just heard from GM Ryan Poles and head coach Matt Eberflus in their pre-draft press conference, selecting a defensive tackle early in the draft, it's definitely on the table. And that choice could be Texas's Byron Murphy II with the ninth selection, or he could be the player they take with a potential trade back, but it would have to be a specific scenario. And what's up? I'm Sean. This is Sports Talk Bears. Hey, you guys, the draft is coming up on Thursday. I'm doing a live show right here, and I would love for you guys to join us. I'll be doing live interaction with your comments. It should be a lot of fun. So, Poles, he said that he sees a high-end interior pass rusher who'd be a three-tech tackle and coach Matt Eberflus's defense as a multiplier. And I'm going to go to this story on theathletic.com. I don't have to tell you guys that the Athletic is awesome. Check this out. So Poles's quote, generally speaking, I'd say the inside guy has the shortest path to the quarterback. Poles said it changes absolutely everything. He also said that the interior pass rush is probably a preference when you have an outside guy. The Bears defense already has defensive end Montez Sweat. You guys know and love him. What Poles is referring to is the absolute beauty of an inside and outside pass rush combo within this Flus defense. That'd take the pressure off Sweat. I mean, it's way harder to double team the guy with a disruptive presence right beside him. It could also be a less obvious solution if we're in this situation that all three wideouts are selected. Atlanta goes with Dallas Turner. Tennessee, they look like close to a lock for Joe Alt. So if we're in that situation, what do we do? The Bears could be in that scenario. They might end up going defensive tackle, and media outlets, they're starting to raise this possibility as like a definite thing that could happen. And this time of year, I just want to cover all the bases. We're almost to the draft, so stay with me here. Murphy could end up being our guy. And I'll talk about in a moment how this year it draws a close parallel to last year's draft as far as a more unexpected player being picked with our 9 at the time and the time leading up to it. So I'll get back to that. So more about what having a powerful 3-tech does for an opposing team. Poles also said that having this inside-outside pass rush combo, it makes it really difficult to scheme up. So Murphy, let's look at it. Yes, Murphy at number 9 to Chicago. It's a very realistic scenario. The disruptive 3-tech that Eberflus covets for this scheme. And once again, if the top 3 wide receivers are off the board and Dallas gets taken by Atlanta, that's an interesting if, but defensive tackle Byron Murphy, Chicago head coach Matt Eberflus, he has spoken for 2 years of a difference maker who will transform this defense. The franchise, we might finally secure that player in the draft in a couple days. And Brad Biggs of the Chicago Tribune on Sunday, he anchored a deep dive into Texas defensive lineman Byron Murphy. I'm going to say his name again. He's just rolling up draft boards, and he's someone who appears to be the absolute precise type of 3-tech that Eberflus has been fixated on for like the last couple seasons. And he's always talked about having that disruptive presence up the middle, and he could be a perfect fit. This is a position that Matt Eberflus has described as the engine of the defense, a difference maker at that position. Imagine that might provide more than statistical production as an interior pass rusher. I mean, the scheme, it's designed to get consistent penetration in the B gap. It's not just about the outside guys. And with the 3-tech, if he's aligned on the outside to shade off the guard, he can draw a center in for pass protection, and that can be a disruptive force against the run. If you can match up a dominant defensive tackle, if you can shade him out and you can get him up against the center, it's going to be lights out. So I think it's definitely worth our time to talk about it. And in a conference call last week, NFL Network draft analyst Daniel Jeremiah, there's someone else proposing this. He mentioned Murphy as a player who could emerge as a top 10 selection. And if so, I mean, how is the Bears fit not ideal as a landing spot? And it's unlikely he slides outside of the top half of round 1. So if we're in that scenario, once again, top 3 wide receivers gone. The Dallas Turner goes to Atlanta with 9. It's Chicago's kind of in a weird situation. I mean, sure, if Bowers is there, we could go Bowers, but we could also trade back a little bit, just like we did last year with Philadelphia, get an extra pick, maybe 2 picks, and still have Murphy sitting there. We could do the defensive solution. That if we get some picks and we can slide around, maybe someone like Worthy is available at wide receiver for our number 3. Maybe somebody like AD Mitchell. Maybe he's the one that's available at that point. I mean, this is a really deep draft class. You've got guys like McConkey. You've got guys, oh my goodness, there are just so many guys down the road that we could still have our cake and eat it too if those top 3 receivers are gone off the board. It's possible that the Bears could trade down, like I said, pick Murphy, but there's buzz. There's buzz right now that he could be actually the first defensive player selected. And that follows a similar pattern of drafting Darnell Wright last year. So let's talk about that. Murphy, he's emerging relatively late in the process as an actual serious candidate for Chicago. We have our 9th overall pick. It follows a similar trend that led to the Bears selection of offensive tackle Darnell Wright out of Tennessee in 2023. I mean, I remember watching the draft as we were going through. I didn't think Darnell Wright was going to be the person that we were going to pick, but it ended up that way. So what happened? We held the rights to the 9th pick in last year's draft. We only traded back one spot off of that pick to number 10 with a trade to Philadelphia, and then we selected Wright to anchor the right side of the offensive line, and it was a absolutely fantastic pick. I think it was a good choice. I think who Philly took is someone that we didn't want anyways, and Jacob Infante of Windy City Gridiron. He posted to Twitter on Sunday, and he talked about how Murphy's potential path to the Bears locker room, that it's mirroring that of Wright to support this. So he said, last year, there was a good amount of late buzz around Darnell Wright as someone that the Bears liked. This year, we're seeing the same with Byron Murphy, and I don't think it's coincidence. So let's look at him a little more. Byron Murphy, he earned top overall score for defensive tackles at the combine. So there's something there. And NFL Network's draft analyst Lance Zierlein, he afforded Murphy the top overall rank of every defensive tackle, every guy that participated in this year's combine. Murphy claimed the 4th best production score, the 2nd best athleticism score, the class at his position. I mean, this guy, he's an imposing presence, but he's a little diminutive in stature, like according to most NFL metrics. He stands at 6 feet, almost 6'2". Almost 6'1", excuse me. He weighs 297 pounds. This size frame, that might be the biggest potential weakness for Murphy at the next level in the NFL. But there isn't much to criticize beyond that. And I'm going to quote on this. This is just a great quote about who he is. Muscular ball of explosiveness, the tools and talent to become a productive 3-down defender in the right scheme. I think the Bears, this flu scheme is the right scheme. He has a twitchy first step. He has quickness. He has good flexion, good power in his lower half. He creates a recipe for disruption as a gap shooter or as a pass rusher. And I think that would be a great fit for our defense. Zierlein also wrote about him. He's a powerful and well-schooled at taking on double teams, but he lacks ideal mass and length for that role long term. He's successful at bypassing protection with sudden hands and quick feet, while his motor, his passion, they create an activity level coaches will love. The guy does not take plays off. So he's not super well suited for taking on double teams, but if he's right next to Montez Sweat, he won't have to. I mean, I think he would be an ideal fit, but it has to be an absolute perfect scenario. Those wide receivers, they have to be gone. Brock Bowers, he is definitely a possibility as a pivot at that point, but we already have 2 tight ends. I mean, go figure. We don't want to, it's just difficult to figure out exactly what the scenario is going to be. I think it definitely matters if Minnesota ends up trading up to get a quarterback. That matters so much. If Minnesota chooses to sit back and possibly go with Penix or possibly go with Bo Nix, and they're not as enamored about McCarthy as everybody's saying that they are, that could definitely end up being all three of those wide receivers are gone. It could end up being that Dallas Turner is gone. So we would be in a trade back scenario to get more picks, I believe. Murphy would be a good choice, trading back, getting Jared Verse. Yes, please. I don't think I would like to have Chop Robinson because he kind of runs around with Tyrannosaurus Rex arms. He has really short arms, and that doesn't fix. Sorry about that. He can't help it. His arms are short, but that doesn't necessarily fit GM Ryan Poles' baseline for a defensive end. And like I said, more picks. We could get a receiver in one of the deepest receiver classes that we've seen in 2 decades to still give Caleb Williams, our new quarterback, that number 3 prospect that would absolutely put this offense into overdrive. So you guys let me know. I mean, we could even be in that scenario that Fuaga offensive tackle is a fantastic pick there. The beautiful thing about having the number 1 and the number 9 pick, there's not a bad scenario. There's no way that we can make a bad choice here. It's just a matter of what the coaches prefer with the scenario of the players going before. So I've beaten a dead horse here. Join me for the live show on Thursday. Love you guys. Really appreciate you. Bear down. And hey, what a great offseason. Can't wait. See ya.